Good afternoon, Professor. My name is Mauricio Moreira. I'm going to go ahead and do the individual presentation for my project. I'm in group 6. I am with Atika, with Hannah, and with Gerardo. And I'm going to be go ahead and talk about our project. We decided as a group to pick the New York City 2019 uh, Airbnb rentals. So okay, I'm gonna go ahead and start. So deliverable one, our dependent variable is the nightly rental rate. We picked five independent variables. We picked room type, host listing count, minimum nights, availability, and number of reviews as the independent types. Let's go ahead and start off. Deliverable two, it's all about the descriptive analysis. So as you're gonna see in the Google document that we're gonna submit to you, we have the descriptive analysis for each of the dependent and for the independent variables in our analysis. The first one is the price descriptive analysis, and something that we came across was that the skewness is 19.119, which already lets us know that the prices are stretched out in the regular distribution graph. The more positive number, the more expensive the far right nightly rate prices are, meaning it is relatively more expensive. Our kurtosis number is also an unusual find, as the right of the skewness relies heavily on this number, as we got 585.672, which also confirmed the skewness. This is what we found to be the standout information regarding rental price. The next one is the ENT dumb variable, which is the different types of home, either private room or entire homes. The kurtosis and the skewness is said to be dismissed because their values are not holding any weight, as we added values to see the difference per stay. When looking at this, if we look at the median and the mode, we get 1 for both, indicating that there are more entire homes up for Airbnb rentals rather than the private rooms. The next one that we are displaying is the minimum nights. This is a huge problem here with the skewness when you look at the other variables around it. For example, the minimum nights, it is relatively normal to get a mode, the most prevalent, to be 1, maybe 2 nights. Median is 3, which is decently normal. However, we get to the ranges and the maximum is 1,250 days. This pulls the skewness way to the right, which gives us the conclusion that the maximum here is the outlier. The next variable that we're discussing is the calculated host listing count. Much like the minimum nights above, the maximum value is far too big. 327 is a huge number, and it really adds weight, leaning towards the right again. For the maximum being that wide and the range reflecting the difference shows how the skewness having that result makes sense. Our next variable is availability, so 365 days. This descriptive analysis here is quite normal for the most part. Everything about the analysis does not have, if at all, any eyesores. However, if you take a deeper dive, we can see how the mode is 0. The issue with that is that many of the homes, apartments, and rooms do actually not have any availability. This can be a result of the popularity of Airbnbs in the areas and how New York is a massive touristic hotspot. And our last descriptive analysis that we're talking about is the number of reviews. Much like the two other independent variables talked about above, the maximum variable is a heavy number. 629 reviews on one listing really affects the numbers here, as having a median of 5, which is about right on any home/room listing for any place having that high of a number from one location, is heavily leaning the numbers to the right. Excuse me. This is confirmed by the skewness as seen in the final picture. The next deliverable is deliverable number 3, which is pretty much our predictions or our assumptions. For room type, it is obvious that the room types listed as entire home would be listed at a higher price due to the spaciousness and the added amenities that come with it, as opposed to the private rooms or shared rooms. Of course, it would make sense If you're going to rent a room type that is that has more space and fits more people, it's going to be at a higher price as opposed to something that's not as big. The next variable is the calculated host listing count. Based on the statistics that we receive from the data, the prices for the rentals will be higher as the host listing increases and vice versa. It also would help to know the value of the property as opposed to inexperienced hosts. Minimum nights. As it is expected, the higher the minimum nights gets, the lower the price goes in retrospect to the flexibility. Number of reviews. If a customer leaves a negative review for a particular listing, the price usually tends to be lower because nobody wants to really book a rental and run the risk of having a negative experience. Now, the other way around, if a customer leaves a positive review for a particular listing, the better the review, the higher the demand for it, so the higher the price. For availability, we notice that the lower the availability, if the rental is throughout the year, the lower the price, and the higher the availability, the higher the price rose. Deliverable 4, pivot tables. For the first pivot table that we decided to display is for room type and the average prices for each one of the room prices. For the room types, I'm sorry. For the pivot table, we are analyzing the average price between the 3 categories, which gave the values of 0 and 1. Entire homes was valued at 1, and the private room / shared rooms were 0. The ENT dummy variable was used to calculate these data. We separated the 3 types to better visualize the numbers. With this, the entire home / apartment has an average of $218.80, which gives it a more expensive average price than renting a private room and or shared room. Even if you combine the 2 remaining types of rooms, the average would go down to the high 88 region, which still puts it at a significantly cheaper price per night. The number of reviews. This pivot table shows the numbers of reviews and its average price. As previously mentioned, there was one outlier here with the Airbnb rental with over 600 reviews. As we can see the price of $48, this is somewhat of an indicator of either poor reviews or the steal of the weekend, for the lack of a better term. It is interesting, as it should be said, that the average price steadily goes down as the number of reviews the property has. This can be an indication that the more people review, the less expensive or worse condition it is in. As we dive into the data, we can clearly see that the more reviews, either positive or negative, the asking price is going down and down. Interpretation. The pivot tables from above show how the price per number of reviews every 99 reviews placed and the average price per room type. As one can predict, the average price per review goes down the more and more reviews it has. It is common to see a plethora of negative reviews rather than a positive on many websites regarding anything you can imagine. That being said, it does correlate going downwards because the more and more reviews it has, the cheaper it would get, which could be a result of poor quality of stay, fewer amenities, and other. On the flip side, the type of room does show our predictions to be true as well. Now we get to the correlations. So we did the correlations between the price and the ENT dummy variable. This correlation is not strong. The correlation being positive lets us know that the price per stay has a slight increase between the room type, between the entire house / apartment, rather than the private and or shared rooms. So if it is the entire room, it would be more expensive, is basically what the R is saying. And then the second correlation that we did was the minimum nights against the price. The slight increase of price as the R is such a small positive number indicates the increase in price as the minimum nights go up. This could be as the more expensive it is, could be a nicer home, larger home, and other reasons. However, being said that this correlation is not very strong, as said before, it cannot be seen in depth with the number. Here we have listed our entire regression model with all of our variables, our independent and dependent variables. The interpretations of the models are as seen. If the p-value is lower than 0.05, then it was a significant independent value to the price change, as well as the t-statistic above a 2.0 as well. If either was true, then it was a significant predictor in the rental price. For the ENT dummy variable, the p-value is 0, indicating that the type of room, either the entire home, private, or shared, is a significant predictor in rental price. For the host listing count, the p-value is 0.523. However, when looking at the t-statistics, we also have a 0.64. Looking at both regressions, we can see that this is not a significant indicator of rental price. Minimum nights. Minimum nights has a t-statistics of 1.14 and a p-value of 0.25, both out of the range we are looking for. Minimum nights, therefore, is not a strong indicator of rental price. Availability has a p-value as seen as above, surpassing any of the other variables picked in the examples. On the other hand, its t-statistics is over a 2.0 with a 20.15 value. Availability is a significant predictor in rental price. And the last one is the number of reviews. Number of reviews, much like availability, has a massive result for its p-value. The t-statistic resulted in a negative number, which immediately indicated that this is not a significant indicator in rental price. Now, our last deliverable, which is deliverable 5, the summary. This comprehensive analysis explores all of the variables that affect Airbnb's nightly rental prices. The study's objective is to ascertain the relationship between the dependent variable, price, and many independent factors, including the number of host listings, the kind of room, the neighborhood group, the minimum number of nights, and the number of reviews. In order to conduct these findings based on the given data set, we apply the functions within Excel to convey the descriptive analysis, pivot tables, correlation, and regression to illustrate the effect of Airbnb's nightly rentals. The data distribution, which includes skewness and kurtosis, shows a slightly correlation between higher numbers of reviews and lower pricings. A remarkable indication of a high positive skewness is the listing required minimum of 1,250 nights in minimum nights. A positive link with greater cost is shown by the right skewness of the host listing count. The number of positive postings outside Manhattan is higher when looking at different room categories. The results portray that there is a slight correlation between increasing pricing and a rise in the minimum number of nights. The marginal relevance of the host listing count points to a less significant effect on pricing than what was first thought. Private rooms are much less expensive than entire homes, while Manhattan listings are substantially more expensive than non-Manhattan properties.